Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and it's the best night of the week, isn't it? It's members live stream. Always the best night of the week. Anyway, I hope you're all well. I've had a bit of a strange day. I don't know how to explain it really. I've just felt a bit, sometimes that happens, doesn't it? But anyway, I'm okay. I'm fine now. I've just had curry and rice. So I've been fed. Once I've been fed, I'm normally a little bit happier. I think maybe I was just hungry. It's still a little bit cold here. Not freezing cold. Oh, look, there she is. She's there. Princess Tears, keeping me company. She always makes me feel better. So, yeah, a bit of a, an odd day. I don't know. But I feel better now that I've had the curry. I'm always better when I've been eaten. When I've eaten, I get hangry when I'm hungry. Anyway, so we've got a few things to do tonight before I start. We've got some new members to welcome. Welcome to the family, or welcome back to the family. For those of you that have been members before and you've rejoined, thank you so much. Now, what we're going to talk about tonight is quite, I was thinking about, we've got Easter coming up, and I remember as clear as anything last year. And, of course, we were sort of in that, as far as the Nicola Bulley case was concerned. Now, there may be some of you out there who don't know about the Nicola Bulley case because, we're a year on now. And Nicola, of course, she was 45-year-old mother of two, dropped her children off at school, went off to take her dog for a walk like she always did, and disappeared. She was searched for by everybody that you can possibly imagine. The river was searched, but we found out lately, rivers, they don't give up their secrets easily. Anyway, nothing was found. As much as Peter Faulding might say now, one of the dive specialist experts, now saying at the time said there was no way she was in the water, definitely not in the water, just impossible she was in the water. Now he says that she was. Oh God, I can't even go into that on this because we'd be here all day. But the fact is that at the time, no, she was not found. And it was said by searchers, including this Mr. Faulding, that she definitely was not in the water. So, of course, that birthed a million conspiracy theories. If she wasn't in the water, well, where was she? And, you would have to look over my, I think on my playlist, I've got nearly 200 videos about Nicola Bulley, which I need to sort of look over them again. And I just haven't had time to look over them again and see, do they still apply? All those thoughts that I had then, do they apply now? Because since then, since last Easter, for example, we're just going to watch one video tonight, the Easter video that I made last year. But since then, there's been the inquest, which declared it was an accidental death. Oh, because she was eventually found in the river. Although everybody said she definitely wasn't in the river, eventually 23 days later, she was found in the river, unfortunately deceased. Then there was a massive lull in everything when we still trusted the coroner, and the coroner said he was nobody was allowed to talk about it. Well, social media, we were allowed to talk about it, but mainstream media, there was a complete media blackout building up to the inquest, and the inquest came to a verdict of accidental death. Decided that Nicola fell into the water by, how, I don't know. I've been to that scene. It's bloody impossible unless you were actually stood right on the edge It's hard to explain unless you go there. You know, yes. See, even the dog knows that. Oh, what you been up? So she's decided she wants to chat all the way through this video. Yes. So there was just no way she could fall in the water accidentally. If you went there, you would see that. It's just impossible, really, unless you decided to go near the edge for some reason. Anyway, that was the verdict that was found. The family is happy with it. This is the problem. Personally, me as a YouTuber, or as a, what do you call them, a citizen sleuth, I quite like that expression, is if the family aren't interested in taking it any further, looking into it any further, you know, what am I supposed to do? Because, you know, normally when you sort of look into cases, it's because you've got the family in mind. You know, the family, and I don't mean the husband or, I mean the child. She had 2 children. You mean the parents? You know, her parents. But if, as it is with this case, that they've, you know, they're not interested in taking it any further, it's very difficult then to take it any further without people accusing you of this, that, or the other. You know, you can't. As I've always said with the Nicola Bulley case, you cannot win, because if you don't do videos about Nicola Bulley, you get criticised, and if you do, you get criticised. You know, it's just like, well, you know what? But if the family then aren't asking people to raise awareness or do anything, in fact, the family is saying, you know, fuck off, basically, and we're happy with the verdict. It leaves you in an impossible position, I think, as a YouTuber. It leaves you in an impossible position. But anyway, we are going to look at a video. So that's why, you know, over the last, you know, over a while now, I haven't really done any videos about Nicola Bulley, but that's the reason, just so that you know. So the reason I am doing this video tonight is because it sort of reminded me, coming up to Easter, I remember this video very specifically that I made because I don't know, I thought I was happy with the video. I was happy. I remember thinking, oh yeah, I'm happy with this video. And now I want to watch it, and within the light of everything that's happened since, which is the inquest result, the College of Policing review, and Mr. Fauldings' weird sort of unsubstantiated claim that he did find her after all, after saying that he didn't for ages. Now, of course, he says he did, but he's not substantiated it by any sort of expert confirmation, just shown it round his YouTube mates and, you know, shown his sonar images round his YouTube mates. He hasn't confirmed it in an expert manner. So what I'm going to do before I start with this video, so honestly, I watched the beginning of it. I remember that I thought, you know, this was a good video. I felt proud of it at the time, but haven't watched all of it. So we're watching it together, and I just thought it'd be interesting to watch this video. Will I be watching it thinking, oh, cringe, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I thought that. Oh my God, because all the videos I made about Nicola Bulley up to when Peter Faulding came out with his ridiculous claim were based on the fact that he had said she definitely wasn't in the river, because I trusted him like many people did. So it'd be interesting now tonight to watch this video, knowing what we know now, and how will it change the way I think about it. May not change it at all. Maybe that everything that has happened since, I won't feel any different. You know, it may well be that, but we'll find out. So shall we start with this video? And I mean, I will be stopping and starting it. And it's quite weird when I commentate on my own videos, but at least don't have to worry about copyright strikes. But it is quite strange, but I don't know what my hair will be like. Don't forget, I'm going back a year, so I might look awful or I might look okay. I have no idea. But yeah, I'm going to share this video and we're going to watch this video. So this was the Nicola Bulley 10 Easter eggs video that I made for Easter last year. Now, what I remember about Easter last year is, because of course it was early days in the Nicola Bulley case, I just remember thinking, I don't know about any of you parents out there, always, every year at Easter, I would do an Easter egg hunt for my son every year. And I remember sort of, obviously, not now because he's an adult, but I remember thinking at the time, would Nicola at that time have been preparing when she got up on Easter Sunday? Would she have been doing an Easter egg hunt for the girls? You know, those sort of things. I think Nicola looks like seems like exactly the sort of person that would do an Easter egg hunt, you know. So I remember feeling very sad about it and thinking, you know, her girls were still young. I'm sure she would have loved to either have got up and prepared an Easter egg hunt for them, or maybe took them somewhere for an Easter egg hunt, you know. So anyway, let's watch the video. Oops, hang on. Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. Happy Easter, or Feliz Pascua. Any of you who've watched my videos before, maybe you know my day job is I am a Spanish teacher. So Easter is very important in Spain. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that, but I just wanted to say to you in Spanish, Feliz Pascua. If you're a person who might be interested in learning Spanish, you can look in the description box and you will see details of my other YouTube channel, which is to learn Spanish or English. Okay, so did you get lots of Easter eggs this Easter? Now, obviously, we all like Easter eggs, or most of us like Easter eggs if we like chocolate. And did you know that Easter egg is also an expression that means a cryptic clue? Normally left, like, for example, in a series or a film, people will leave, or in anything, people will leave cryptic clues for the super fans to find, you know, in these series, like little allusions to things that have happened before in the series or happened in real, you know, in real life, important events, etc. And these are called Easter eggs, cryptic clues. So I thought for Easter, for Nicola, I'm going to look at 10 Easter eggs in the case of Nicola Bulley. These are clues, if you like. Clues, maybe not the right word, but reasons, you know, for the way I think, the way I do about this case. Some people say, oh, you can't call it a case, it's not a case. It's, what is it if it's not a case? You know, anyway. So, yeah. Yeah, I remember that at the time. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's not a case. It's not a case." Of course, it was a fucking case. What else was it? It was a case. Whatever happened in the end, it was still a case. What's wrong with that description of it? But anyway, oh, look at my face there. I'm not happy, am I? But you know, of course, when just after the actual event itself, you know, after all the things that happened with Nicola. Of course, there were loads of trolls then. I was being trolled left, right, and centre. Not only me, you know, I'm not like whinging about it. Everyone was trolling. This is still the case that attracts the most trolls. You know, every now and again I get a troll. Like we got that Thor last night on that case. But really, to be honest, there weren't much of a troll. But the Nicola Bulley case, you get like the real sort of deep trolls, dark trolls, nasty, horrible. things that they say, you know. And I'm not sure why that is really. That is something that still to this day amazes me. I mean, I cover lots of cases, and you know, some get more views than others. The Samantha Murphy case has attracted loads of views and new subscribers, but there's been nothing like the trolling that I got on this case. So that's quite strange about it, and it'd be interesting to see as time goes on, and if I carry on doing this YouTube channel, which I probably will. I do have days where I think, oh God, I'm not doing this anymore. But of course, all you lovely chatters out there, the chatterati, the nice messages I get, the support that I get, that is what keeps me going. You know, but you know, every now and again I do think it's not only because of trolls, it's because sometimes, obviously, covering true crime, etc., it's not the most cheerful thing in the world. So sometimes I think, oh my God, you know, especially when you get cases like Madeline Soto, you know, a young girl like that abused by a stepfather, or well, there's loads of different cases that you really feel, and you know, sometimes you think, oh God, why am I doing this? But of course, then when I hear from my chatters and everything, the lovely emails that I get, sometimes people will email and say, oh, you've brought us all together, or how much your channel has helped me. I love watching your channel, or, you know, all those nice things. And, you know, I get more of those sort of messages than the other kind, luckily. That's what keeps me going. So I forgot why I started saying this, because I've gone off on a tangent as usual. But yeah, why did I start saying this? Hello, why did I start saying this? Hey, she wants some attention. You can't see her actually, but she's after some attention, the dog. Yeah. No, oh, because what I was saying was it's the Nicola Bulley case that attracts the most sort of negative vibes. So, and I don't know why that is. Anybody know? So I'm going to look at 10 Easter eggs, some of which I've touched on before, and some of which are things that are new that I haven't, you know, I didn't know before. So I'm just, you know, bringing to your attention. The thing is, all of us that are involved in this, if you like, me making this video, you at home watching this video, we're doing it because we care about Nicola and what may or may not have happened to her one way or another. Something bad happened to her. We care. We want justice. We want it to be fair. We don't like the way that Nicola's name has been sort of, you know, how she's been sort of said that she's got a drink problem and the menopause, and we don't like it. We don't like the way she's been described. We don't like the fact that she's suddenly sort of, you know, and I know that people who are suicidal, they sometimes do totally random things, but we don't think that she would have left her children like that. We just don't. And people can say it as much as they want, but from what we know about her, and we do know quite a lot, because there's quite a lot out there one way or another, and we've been interested in it, and we don't believe it. Now, maybe we're wrong, but we still have a right to not believe it. I won't believe it until somebody until I see some proof that this is actually what's happened. I won't believe it. So that's just the way it is. So I have my own thoughts, and what I'm going to look at in this video with these Easter eggs is I'm going to look at why I have these thoughts. You know, they're not just random. I haven't just decided. I certainly didn't decide right at the beginning. You know, it's only with looking into things that I've come to feel this way. And at the end, you know, I will be saying it. I think most of you probably know exactly what I think by now if you've watched other videos. But no, something else I just want to mention before I start. There was all these rumours flying around, you know, that the man who must not be named, the partner of Nicola, had been arrested. As far as I know, I've heard nothing still officially about that, so I don't think that's true. See, that was another thing. All these rumours, stupid rumours. That was actually about the PA had been arrested. Was on another YouTube channel, who, saying his door had been broken into. It was all over the Facebook groups. There was so much crap really being said, and we all were. I'll hold my hands up and say speculation at the end of the day. We've all speculated. But, this is why, especially now, and I'm saying it a lot now because, I'm a year on and realizing you cannot accuse people, whatever you think. I just can't imagine how that must have felt for somebody, for it to be all over the internet that they'd been arrested, their door had been broken down, they'd been arrested, taken off and, interviewed or whatever. That's a horrible rumour. And whatever I do or don't think about Paul, or whatever I do or don't think about what might have happened, I've got my doubts, like about the welfare check, this, that, and the other. All those things that are out there, but at the end of the day, none of the thing about him being arrested, it was not true, and it should have been checked out before it was reported on. I always try and check. I do get a lot of hello, baby. I do get a lot of emails. I get a lot of messages from people, telling me, oh, this has happened and that's happened. And when I say to them, well, how do you know and what's the proof? Quite often there is no proof. It's just what Fred said on the other YouTube channel, or it was in comments or whatever, or it was on Facebook, so it must be true. So we've got to be careful, haven't we? And especially in cases like this. At the moment, some people have said it was, people get mixed up with Nicola Sturgeon's husband, who has been arrested. Possibly, but his name is Peter, so, but it's possible. Sometimes people might just have heard, oh, Nicola's husband's been arrested, and just assumed it was that Nicola. But anyway, I don't know. What we do know for sure is the police have been back to the river. We know that. That's 100% true. The police did go back to the river. Something that struck me about that is I think people underestimate the police. I really do think there's, as I say, lots of things bubbling below the surface, and one of them is this police inquiry. I think they'll be looking into all aspects. And I wondered if they went back to the river, that could be like a diversion, couldn't it? Because or decoy, as Nicola's partner refers to these things, because maybe they went back there knowing that everybody would start talking about that, and maybe other things that are going on they're detracting from. That's a possibility, isn't it? Because that anytime the police go back to that river, somebody's going to be there videoing it, somebody's going to be talking about it, noticing it, yeah, so I don't know. So until we hear anything official, I don't know. I just do think that things are going on. I do think that. Okay, so we're going to get to the first Easter egg. And the first Easter egg is, for me, was the first. Now, I just want to say that I think I was wrong there, because I was completely wrong, because I always felt like I was always waiting for something to break, for some news to come out. And now, of course, it transpires that nothing was ever going to come out. And was that because there is nothing to come out, or is that because they, my belief was always that they just cocked up the whole operation right from the beginning, and then they could not catch up on actually finding anyone accountable. And there's still a part of me inside that hopes that one day something more will come out that will, lead to what really happened. That's my hope. I can't have it. But at that time, I was still believing that it might be soon. But that did not happen. This time that I started feeling the way that I do about this case was Nicola's partner's first interview. Do you remember the one with the big woolly hats? And anyway, that's the first Easter egg, and we're going to look at that now. So here you go. This is the first Easter egg. We all remember this, don't we? You know, looking back at it now, you think, oh my God, you know, this is when everyone really started thinking, oh, this is strange. It was the smile, wasn't it, by the riverbank? You know, it still looks weird today, doesn't it? So, you know, I think this is not, you know, we sort of, it goes into the back of your memory, but I don't think we've ever forgotten this. This is what made most of us start to think there was something strange, but could have just been his demeanor.
My whole focus is our two girls, just staying as strong as I can for them. I'm scared that if I put any focus into anything else, it's going to take my, focus off that. So
oh my God, this is so funny, because this is before I'd worked out how to share a video on the screen. So sorry about that, but there you go. I was showing it on my phone. But you know what? We've all got to start somewhere.
Be very careful.
Got to be very careful. Very careful.
Anything comes out from the interview yesterday, no matter how tiny.
Anything, no matter how tiny.
A massive thank you to the community, friends.
Oh my God, she's a bitch, this woman. He's like, you can tell by my face, I'm not feeling Paul, really, am I?
For everything that they're doing, it's absolutely incredible. I just can't believe that we're a week on, and as yet, it seems like we're no further on. It just seems absolutely impossible. Just like a dream. Just cannot get my head around any of it.
I mean, you're left sort of trying to make sense of the census, aren't you? It is just such a mystery.
Yeah, it is. There's just no every single scenario.
No, every single scenario. That was a big thing, wasn't it? There's just no every, and do you know what? Even if he would have said there's no evidence, it wouldn't have seemed as strange as Paul saying there's no every, and trying to change what he'd said. I wonder why he did that, or why did he? Because let's not forget, this was a week after Nicola had gone missing, when Paul finally turned up to say something, and he sort of had this car crash interview by the side of the river where he laughed and smiled, said this thing about evidence. There's just no every, and it was, as I say, it's more the fact that he tried to change what he said than what he said that seems weird.
Every single one of them. And then all we're doing is sitting there going round and round and round, going through every scenario, and then go back to the first scenario again and do the whole thing again. And then it's just all day long. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing.
That's all we're doing.
How are you coping? It must be so difficult. Like, so your focus is on the girls, and it has to be. But yeah, it must be so difficult.
I don't know how I'm coping. I don't even want to actually think about that. Just focus.
No, you can't think about it.
The girls, that's it. I'm there for them. I don't want to really elaborate on that. I just
doesn't want to elaborate on it.
Off that.
It must be heartwarming to see
because he might let
something
trying
to help.
It's amazing. It is right now. It's the only thing that we can take is, that level of support is out of this world. It gives us a great amount of comfort knowing that that's going on. they don't have anything else, do we?
Well, there's hope.
We're never ever going to lose the hope.
Yeah, he doesn't like it when the reporter says that, does he?
It is as though she had vanished into thin air. Like, yeah, just insane.
So yeah, there he says, oh, it's like she's vanished into thin air. Later in the other interview with Dan Walker, he says, people don't just vanish into thin air, it's impossible. I think Nicola's partner must really regret that interview. Those things that came up in that interview, you know, so many things. That's really what started everyone thinking, wasn't it? That, you know, first of all, it'd been a week. So that's quite a long time before he even came out and said anything. He made no appeal for Nicola to come home or for someone to let her go.
Yeah, now this is the other thing, isn't it, that's sometimes we forget, but it's true. He never appealed for anyone. He never appealed for Nicola to come home, you know, publicly like that. You think he'd be looking into the camera saying, please, Nikki, come home. Whatever the problem is, we can sort it out. You know, you really felt from day one that he felt like she was not coming back. He never appealed for... You know, bearing in mind at that time, she could have been abducted by someone we didn't know. He never appealed for someone to let her go. Never appealed for her to come home, and never, you know. So these, I'm not saying it means anything. What I'm saying is, it makes me feel better for the way I felt at the time. I don't feel guilty about it because there was a reasons for. These were the reasons we felt the way we did. You know, there were reasons.
Might be holding her if she'd been kidnapped. You know, there was no appeal. There was no sort of expectation. You know, I think wouldn't he be saying, "Oh, please come home"? You know, I know you're going through. Oh, because of course he knew she was supposedly going through a bad time, depression, etc. But he hadn't released that to the world yet. But he knew all that. But he never mentions that. You know. Please come back, you know, no matter what you're going through, we can sort it. Anyway, I've sort of said things about that on other videos. So, but I think for me, the most relevant things, the things I wanted to pick out in this Easter egg episode, the big woolly hat, and he's probably got scratches. I'm 100% certain he would have had scratches or bruises or whatever because of whatever happened. He was covering something up there. Secondly, I'm very certain there. And now I wouldn't say I'm so certain about, you know, what exactly happened, but obviously I was certain there. Evidence. Oh, there's no every time. You know, he didn't want to say evidence. Why didn't he want to say evidence? You know, so he's watching what he's saying. So he's trying to make an impression. If you watch Nicola's family being interviewed, mum and dad, etc., they're not trying to make an impression. They're just acting spontaneously. So I think that's important. I don't know. He mentions dream a lot, as does Emma. Now, the family and the friends, the other friends, apart from Emma, all mention a nightmare. When it's like being in a nightmare. When Paul and Emma talk about it, it's like being in a dream. You know, those are two completely different things, aren't there? There's a big difference between a dream and a nightmare. And something that struck me the other day when I was thinking about the Mitchell Quay interview that I did, he said, you know, before he'd actually admitted to killing Lindsay, in one of the interviews he gave, he said he dreamt, you know, you have dreams about, you know, there's no way they're not having dreams about whatever happened. Because whatever happened, if there was some foul play, you wouldn't just forget about that. I expect it keeps you awake at night, thinking about it, trying to live with it, all the things that are going on around it. So,
yeah, now it's funny because right from the beginning, now that's pretty, I don't know if you know about the Mitchell Quay case. I've done a couple of videos on Mitchell Quay. Now, he killed his wife in a fit of rage. You know, oh, it's a bit of a, you know, I could go into that case. It's a case that has just always stuck with me. But anyway, he murdered his wife round about Christmas time. Lovely young girl, Lindsay Quay. I feel so connected to Lindsay. I don't know why. I've absolutely no idea why, but I always have done. And anyway, he got away with it for 18 months. It was 18 months before he finally cracked and confessed killing Lindsay. But it was as if she had disappeared off the face of the earth. He said she'd run off with another man, this, that, and the other. Now, the very first time that I saw Paul speaking, and, you know, sorry, Paul, if you're watching this, and I'm not saying it's true, I'm just saying, I'm just talking about how I felt, Vicky Marie chats. At the time, I really saw, I felt, you know, it reminded me of Mitchell Quay. Just reminded me instantly of Mitchell Quay. Now, I still say now, I think Mitchell Quay, hateful person that he was for what he did to Lindsay, and not only what he did to her, but more how he covered it up. Because I think, you know, what happened with Lindsay, his wife, you know, it was a volatile relationship. I think Mitchell did love Lindsay. But, you know, just because someone loves you doesn't mean they won't kill you. You know, sometimes love is more dangerous, because out of love, you know, and that line between love and hate is so thin. You know, it can cross over. And Mitchell and Lindsay had a very volatile relationship. And I do think that Mitchell loved Lindsay, and I think Lindsay loved Mitchell, and that's why she kept going back to him. And then one night he just snapped and he's killed her. Now, it's not, you know, it's bad enough that he's killed her, which is a terrible thing, but it's what he did afterwards that always stuck in my mind, you know, because he called his brother Elliot, who was a butcher, and they dismembered Lindsay and deposited parts of her body all over Southport. And then he turned around and started to try and say that Lindsay had run off with another man. He had seen her. He had seen her around Southport. You know, she was alive and well. And he then looked after the children. They had 2 children. One was their joint child and the other one was Lindsay's child by a previous relationship, Robin. But immediately Paul reminded me of Mitchell. You know, I don't know why. No idea why, but he did. And that's why what I was thinking of when I made this video. You know, you will be dreaming about it, but they don't ever say nightmare. They always call it a dream, because you know that when something happens, if you've ever had a traumatic event in life, it does feel like a dream. It's like you're in a dream-like state. But if you know, something like somebody going missing, that would be a nightmare. Anyway, I know it's all semantics, but people say things for a reason. People do things for a reason. Was there anything else? Yeah, so the woolly hat to cover up the scratches. Those were the things in that interview that stood out for me. The woolly hat, the scratches, the smile, of course, and we don't have anything else. And then he got quite annoyed with the reporter when the reporter said, oh, well, there's so many. Went, oh, yes, well, we're never going to lose the hope. You know, he was quite sort of testy about that he'd forgotten to say that. And as interviews went on, there's not one interview in the future where hope isn't mentioned. So they learnt their lesson there, didn't they? Okay, so that is the first Easter egg that I wanted to talk about. Easter egg number 2 is the very first interview of Emma White, which I've only just seen. I think it's a big Easter egg.
Part of the show.
Emma White. Okay. And the Higgins. Okay. And you're both friends. Yes, friends. Yeah. And just tell me, you've been out all weekend? All weekend. We're obviously a local community. They are our friends. Everyone's pulling together just to search to bring Vicky home. her 2 little girls. Hopefully, if anybody knows anything, share with the police.
Gosh, do you remember that interview? Do you remember that interview with Emma with her cap on? And I couldn't. Well, the first time I saw that interview, I couldn't even believe it was her, because all the other interviews, she had all her makeup perfect, and this, that, and the other. But this one, which I think was the first interview, gosh, you forget, don't you? Sort of how that looked at the time. Very odd.
2 little girls want their mummy home. Please help.
Please help.
This is out of character, Heather. This is not Vicky. This is out of character for Vicky. She adores her family. She adores her girls and her husband. They're just such a well thought out family. They're so loved, and we know that if she could be, she'd be at home. So yeah, we just want her home with the girls. The community's pulled together. There's been an amazing turnout. The community support has been huge. Yeah, we just want to carry on our search today and hope that we get some good news. Okay, well, I'll let you carry on. Thank you both.
Well, what did you think of that? I mean, when I saw that, I don't think I must have seen it right at the beginning. I'm sure I don't know where it. I mean, I've seen she's got a hat right pulled down. It's like she doesn't want to be seen. So to me, this is a big Easter egg, and the difference. I'll show you some photos shortly of the other interviews. The difference between her, the way she looks and her conduct and everything, you know, I just couldn't believe it. You wouldn't think it was the same person, would you? Now, I think there are 2 possible reasons for this. First reason is she's as guilty as anything. She was almost looked sort of embarrassed, or maybe she didn't want people to see how much she looked like Nikki at the time, because, you know, it was her who took the dog for a walk. You know, I don't know how I don't know what actually happened if there was foul play, but it's a possibility, isn't it? It's a scenario that's possible. So maybe it was that she didn't. Why was she so trying to hide herself? Whereas later it was like, oh, look at me, you know, and she couldn't say or do enough. Of course, the other possibility is, and this is the, you know, I should give her was she just out that day walking her dog? And I don't know about you, but when I go out walking my dogs, I wouldn't really like a TV camera to suddenly descend on me and start asking me questions, because I look a right mess. You know, I don't do my hair, I don't do any makeup. I normally do put lipstick on, because I'm one of these people that it'd be very rare to see me without lipstick. That takes 2 seconds in one, and just put a bit of lipstick on. It probably looks terrible, but it's almost like feeling naked without lipstick. But you know, my mum was the same. Maybe it's a Manchester thing, I don't know. But so it could be that. It could be she's.
Now, also, I want to just add here, since I've read the College of Policing review, I do feel a bit more sympathy for Emma, because you know, they freely admitted that she was left to almost be the press person, wasn't she? You know, and they admitted that they should have had more control over press releases, etc. And Peter Faulding was left to, you know, give press releases, if you like, when really he shouldn't have been. And Emma, again, she was left to be like the spokesperson, which she shouldn't have been. The police should have been doing official press releases, etc. So I've got to say, since the College of Policing report, I have looked a little bit more kindly, not only on Emma, but on a lot of people, because the College of Policing report, they did admit to a lot of failings. And when you look then at what they say, and when you look back at what happened, you can understand things a bit more. So I do sort of think Emma was so. I really do think that maybe that first time she was out, she's got a bloody flat cap on, she's gone to take a dog out. She's probably got no makeup on or whatever, and then suddenly the media sort of see her you know, make a beeline for having someone to, and depending on your personality, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, Emma's a Leo. She probably likes to look nice. And, you know, it'd be awful, wouldn't it, if you think, God, you're going to be on Sky News or whatever news channel it was, and everyone's going to see you looking like shite. You know, it's like, you wouldn't want that. So could be that for that reason. Then afterwards she went out and had her eyelashes done, or the this, that, or the other, because she knew she was going to be regularly on the news. So we've got to sort of, you know, we've got to look at all angles, I think. So, oh my God, the next minute the TV cameras are there. They want to talk to her and Heather, and she's thinking, oh my God, I've got no eye makeup on. I haven't got my false eyelashes on. I haven't done my hair. I haven't, you know, and so she's like trying to hide. It could be for that reason. It could be for a vanity reason. And I don't blame her for that. But it just seems so incongruous compared to the other interviews. You know, what a difference. It's like you just wouldn't even know that was the same person. I do feel like she looks sort of almost guilty or trying to hide herself. Now, I like watching the interviews with Emma and is it Heather Gibbons, the other girl, because of the difference in their demeanor. There's such a difference when they talk about Nikki, and that sometimes the other girl seems to be looking at Emma. I've seen that a couple of times. Because there are a couple of, there's certainly one other interview, if not two other interviews with the two of them together. Sometimes she seems to be looking at Emma and the expression on her face. I think she's a bit scared of Emma. I think Emma's quite an intimidating person, personally. You know, that's how it comes over to me. And Heather Gibbons, she seems to sometimes be looking at like she's not sure if she should say something. Has she got permission from Emma to say, you know, Emma's calling all the shots, isn't she, and what people can say and can't say. And when Heather's talking in the other interviews, it's like Emma's just sort of really she looks at her out the corner of her eye, like what she's saying. Is she saying the right thing? She doesn't really like it when Heather's talking, because also she doesn't like the attention going off her, I think. But yes, it's a very, very, very curious interview, that one, in comparison with all the others. You know, just it's completely different. So yeah, it's either because, you know, because I don't know when that interview was actually done. It may have been on the same day. I don't know. It certainly probably was shortly afterwards, because she hadn't had time to get her eyelashes done and that. But yeah, it's so different from the others. And although she does sort of say, you know, her voice sort of cracks, it's so false. I'm sorry, it's false. I don't think, you know, Emma and Nicola, whether Emma did anything or not, I don't think they were that good of friends that she makes out sometimes. You know, it's like they were acquaintances. She says in another interview, I think it's the one with Kate Garraway and, you know, Good Morning Britain, and Ben Shepherd says, oh, well, you were friends, weren't you? You were good friends. She says, yes, our children go to the same school. Well, you know, when my child went to school, I wasn't friends with every single other parent. You know, there were parents that I knew because their children were friends with my son, or they were in the same class, or they might, but I wasn't friends with them. Do you see what I mean? You can't be friends with all the people. Oh, yes, our children went to the same school. You know, they're not your friends. They're just the parents of other children that go to your children's school. Anyway, that's my opinion. It's just my opinion. So I'm not telling you what to think. Please, if you don't agree with me yet, put your comments. As long as your comments are respectful and there's no swearing, I don't care what comments you put. I like reading them, whether they agree with me or not. But these are my opinions. Okay, so that's the second Easter egg for me. And the third Easter egg, I just want to look briefly at the other interviews. Yes, so you're going to see a couple of photos in a minute just of this third Easter egg, which is the other interviews, the difference in the way she looks,
I'm not going to show it. I think everybody's sort of more or less played out the Emma White interviews. I'm sure you've all seen them. The strange things, you know, that she always seems to be quite happy and upbeat. And I want to go back, though, just briefly to talk about that Good Morning Britain interview. If you've seen that Good Morning Britain interview, which I think you can probably find on the internet, as you know, I'm not really technical enough to put it, unfortunately, on here. But if you look at Kate Garraway's face, I mean, maybe I'm wrong again. You know, I'm sure, you know, I can't be wrong. I'm not. But my opinion, I felt like Kate really didn't believe what she was saying. But, you know, I don't know. There was this sort of incredulousness on Kate's face, but maybe I'm reading Kate wrong. I don't know. There was also, you know, she was smirking when those people were going past, who it turns out apparently are actual, you know, there's photos circulating of them all together at a party and everything. So these.
Yeah, now I don't know if you remember that interview that Emma gave sort of at the bridge. And as she was giving the interview on the bridge, two of her mates walked past. You know, and I know they're her mates because she went on holiday with them last summer, because they were on her Facebook. There was photos. It's like a gay couple, and there was photos all over her Facebook of this couple. So, you know, it was very weird because as they walked past, she smirked. It was like you could just imagine him saying, "Oh, come to the bridge at such and such a time tomorrow, because I'm having my interview with Good Morning Britain. You'll be able to get on camera." That's how it felt to me. They were all trying to get on camera. It was like not like concern for friends so much as, "Oh, can we get on camera?"
I think this is something that's leading to these psyops theories. A couple of people have made comments on the, you know, in my comments about, oh, this woman doesn't exist, has never existed. You know, it's psyops. And if you don't know what psyops are, they're like, I mean, I do sort of, I am a person who sometimes believes in conspiracy theories, but not everything's a conspiracy theory. But a psyops is something to deflect you from something else that's going on, or try and make you think in a certain way, try and lead the narrative. I personally don't think this is a psyops. I just don't think it is. I think it's that's just the impression. There's no reason, I don't think, to think it is. But this is why some people think it is, because, you know, they think it's all like a big. People have said it's all like being acted all out at Marsh Farm, or Marsh Hall Farm, or whatever it's called, and Emma's like the director. And you know, it does feel like that sometimes, that Emma is directing everything. But I think that's for a different reason. I think Emma's just a kind of person who gets involved in everything. She's loving this. I don't feel like, you know, even if she's done no foul play to Nicola, she's loving every minute. She's loving being on the TV now that she's got her makeup sorted out. She didn't like that first interview. She didn't like that for whatever reason. Maybe she don't just, you know, helped kill Nicola that morning. I don't know, but or maybe it was just that she wasn't ready for it, and she wasn't, you know, she didn't like being that cap. Where did she get that cap from? You know, I mean, it looked like she just found it on the floor. Maybe she had, but yeah, a lot of her interviews, you sometimes wonder, is Nicola's partner there? Because she's quite often there when he's being interviewed. She's there in the background prompting him, etc. So, you know, the thing is, when you see the camera, you only see the camera and what's pointing at. You can't see what's going on behind. You could see on that Good Morning Britain interview that she turned and sort of smirked as these two guys went past. I mean, really, would you, you know, even if it was, you know, to be on Good Morning Britain, I know some people are totally blown away by the TV and stuff like that. I've been on the TV myself. I'm on Bargain Loving Brits in the Sun. I'm on that quite shortly, actually. I've been on it once. I'm going to be on it again.
it doesn't feel glamorous or anything. I mean, you know, it's in fact, it is quite scary because you don't know which bit they're going to use. You know, the camera person is there and filming you, but you don't know how they're going to edit it and whether you're going to look an idiot or not. Or but and you, the people then when that are watching it on the TV at home, you can't see anything except what the camera is being pointed on. So you can't see what's going on in the background and that. And there's quite a lot going on, believe me. I mean, it was an eye opener for me. The magic of television, and yeah. Oh, because a couple of people. See, I didn't think of it as being, oh, I'm on the telly, because I'm not a big TV watcher, to be honest. I don't actually watch it. I used to when I was young, but now I really rarely watch the television, and I'd actually never watched that program until they contacted me and asked me to be on it. I've got friends who watch it, and of course, you know, we live in Spain. I live in Spain. I've got friends in the UK that watch it because they're interested in what British people get up to in Spain. But I never really watched it that much. I don't think I'd ever watched it anyway. And then they contacted me and asked me to go on it, and I thought, oh yeah, this be good publicity for my Spanish classes. And I actually did enjoy it in the end. You know, I enjoyed it more. I'm quite impatient now to see my episode. Look, I'm waffling on again. Sorry, but yeah. So I know that. But a lot of people contacted me when I was, because I've been on it once, just a very short class that I gave to somebody else, but it was really their story, and I was just on it very briefly. And people contacted me, lots of people contacted me that I've not even seen, you know, for years. Oh my God, I saw you on Bargain Loving Brits, and how fantastic. You know, people are really quite starstruck with the television. I hadn't realised that. So, you know, that's the other option with Emma. It might just be that, because people tell me that she's had an acting career and things like that. I can't find if anyone can send me any links to you know, actual things instead of just telling me what she's been in, because I've looked, I can't find it. Maybe that's just me, but you know, I'd like to see her acting, obviously. So maybe she's just a bit starstruck, and that's maybe why. Maybe, you know, they live in a little village. I live in a little village. Not much happens. So, oh my God, if something like that happened in my village, the neighbours, they'd be, oh my God, they'd be loving it. TV cameras, and you know, it's like, oh, it's probably the most exciting thing that's happened there for 50 years. But so that could be it as well. So it might not be a sinister reason. We've got to think about that. Anyway, so we're going to go and look at the next Easter egg number 4 now, which really is, for me, is about the sort of language that's used, which seems to me incongruous for the situation. Yes, so the 4th Easter egg for me is things that I've mentioned many times on videos that I've done. Is this language that's used by Emma, the milestone in particular. Milestone, we've reached a milestone. The last push just before Nicola's body was found. And she mentions last, just a last request, just a last this. Why is it last? How did she know that it was going to be the last one, that Nicola's body was going to be found that Sunday? You know, so to me, milestone is a positive thing. I just reached the milestone thanks to some of you lovely people on here as well who subscribe to my other channel, and I reached the milestone of 2,000 subscribers. That's a milestone. That's a positive thing. You know, I wouldn't say like, you know, my dog went missing and I'd say, oh, you know, there's a milestone, my dog's been missing a week. Or, you know, there's a milestone, my son's been missing a week. Or it's not a milestone. I don't know, you know, don't get me wrong, I don't know what I would call it. Maybe she's just saying that, you
she's got a bit of oh my God, what was that person called? That woman that always used to say the wrong thing. Maybe the wrong words come out for what she, maybe that's just something about the way she talks, because she talks quite quick, and perhaps just, and she's, it might just be the wrong word that comes out sometimes, but it just seems so often that milestone comes out. It's an anniversary, isn't it? It's a week or a week's, I don't know what you'd call it. Anyway, if you can think of anything else, let me know. But I've mentioned this before, and some of you have said, "Oh no, that it seems fair enough to say milestone." It still seems strange to me. I don't know, a milestone. Somebody suggested she might have meant a millstone. There's different ideas, but the other thing, it's not only the milestone that she says a lot; it's the last thing, the last push, etc. And the other one is the roller coaster that both her and Paul say quite often. And I just think, how is it a roller coaster? Because what are the highs? A roller coaster of emotions. When are you ever happy about this situation? There's been no highs. Nobody said, "Oh, yeah, I saw Nikki in the cafe down the road having a coffee," or looks like, there's no positives. Nikki disappeared on that day, and there's been no positives since. So what are the roller coaster? What are the ups in this roller coaster that you're on? Maybe I'm looking into it too much. I'm quite open to accept that. As I think I've said many times before, to me, it's not the roller coaster, the last push, the milestone, the strange first interview, the eyelashes. It's none of those things in isolation. It's all those things put together, along with the Easter eggs, like from Paul's behaviour, etc. So it's all those put together, build up into a massive Easter egg. All the little Easter eggs build up to a massive Easter egg. Okay, now the fifth Easter egg for me is something that they both referred to. That the more I think about it, I think, is there something that the police did miss, or is there a piece of evidence? But anyway, we're going to look at that. This is Easter egg number 5. Okay, so it's this next Easter egg is something that both Emma and Paul referred to as the missing piece of information, no matter how small. I think Emma called it small. Paul said twice in his first interview, in that interview that we looked at earlier, his very first interview, which he must really regret doing now, because that's where it all started going bad for him. He said, and he also mentioned it in the Dan Walker interview, any piece of information, no matter how tiny. He said tiny. Any piece of information, no matter how tiny. And Emma many times mentioned, that if there was, we're just looking at that last piece in the puzzle, that was another thing Emma said, however small, so you feel like, is there something, if they left those, because I do think, I don't know how they did it, don't get me wrong, but let me give you my idea of what happened. I do think the dog, the harness, the phone were all left there deliberately. Now, maybe there was another thing that was left there that wasn't found. And then they're mentioning it a week later. It's like, why has this other thing that we left not been found? Could have been the keys, couldn't it? If it was tiny. Could have been the dog tag. Some people are talking about the dog tag there. It disappeared. The dog tag wasn't on the harness or whatever when they found it, but it was back on the dog later. Maybe they left that, but to try and make it look as if it had snapped, and maybe they left that, nobody found it, and then they went back and got it. I mean, I don't know, but something tiny, something small, something that had been missed. That to me is the fifth Easter egg. So we're going to look at the sixth Easter egg now. Okay, so we're going to look at the 6th Easter egg, which to me is something Paul said in his interview with Dan Walker. Easter egg number 7 is also something that Paul said in his interview with Dan Walker. So let's look at the first one, Easter egg number 6. Still strikes me so strange that when Dan asks Paul, how are you feeling? Or how would you describe the way you feel or your feelings? The first word that Paul says is anger. Anger. So your loved one has disappeared. Your loved one who you know is mentally vulnerable. Now, I just want to say, because this strikes me, that this thing about anger, you know, when Dan Walker, what was Dan Walker cleared of at the BBC? You know, the more you hear about Dan Walker, the more you think he's a bit of a strange one, isn't he? A bit of a weird one. But even one of my many nieces, as you may have realised by now, I've got quite a lot of nieces. I don't think I've ever added them all, but there's probably at least 8. One of my nieces who's a psychology teacher, even she has no interest in true crime whatsoever. She thinks I'm mad doing these, you know, so she's not someone who's like interested in these kind of things. Even she said, when she first listened to Paul's interview, when we were listening to it together, even she said, well, why did he say anger? Where did anger come from? Why was that the first thing that he said? No, this, you know, gives me some sort of, I think, why was he angry because Dan said, how do you feel? Or what was your first feeling? And he said, anger. And to me, that felt like very strange that he would say that. It was like, well, was he angry because he thought that Nikki had gone off and done something to herself, taken herself away? You know, there's a few, I've always said right from the beginning that I don't, if it was ever proven that Nicola had deleted herself, it was because of the relationship she was in. You know, one way or another, if she did do it, which I still can't imagine she did, not because of her kids even, not because of the dog, if you even take all those things out of the equation, which are really important, that was not the place to do it. I've been there, I've seen it. You would not go to that. It's not a suicide spot. It's not a place where people delete themselves. You know, it's a place that would be the last place you would think that you could delete yourself, because you'd be looking at that river and you'd be thinking, oh God, I can stand up in that. Why would you throw yourself in that river? You just bloody wouldn't, not in a million years. So that's, you know, I don't believe that happened. But if it did, if it was ever proven that it did, it would be because I think of some sort of problems in the relationship, which of course we know about from the welfare check on the 10th. Well, from what we do know about it, because we don't know all the details, of course. Anyway, menopausal alcoholic, according to you. Oh, don't even get me started on this. I think I was still angry about this then. You know, when her medical records had been released, and it was just, what? You know, what? It was one of those what moments, and there's been lots of what moments about this case. Yeah, and I think it may come over a little bit that I'm a little bit angry. And your first emotion that you think of to say about how you feel that she's not been found, she's disappeared, is anger. So to me, that's just ridiculous. I just don't see how anybody would come up with that as a first emotion. Maybe even afterwards, if he'd found that Nicola had sadly taken her own life, or maybe you'd say, because you would probably bit, well, I know from experience, you are a little bit angry that they've done it, because you've got a roller coaster.
Maggie, just to let you know, because if you've come in late, yes, we're watching the video that I made last Easter about Nicola Bulley, to see, the reason we're watching this video is to see, do we still feel the same, or do I still feel the same? You know, this was a popular video. Of course, this video was made this time last year, so before the Peter Faulding revelations, or, you know, assertions. It was made before the result of the inquest. It was made before the College of Policing review. So the point of watching this video now is to see, do the things, whatever it's interesting for me to watch it and see, this is how I felt this time last year. Do I still feel the same now? Has anything changed? You know, what new things do we know now that we didn't know then? There's not that much different, actually. Not that we know, not that's been proven. For me, the most interesting thing that we know now is the College of Policing report. You know, and people will say, oh no, some of it was true, some of it wasn't true, or whatever. But I think that for me, it shed a lot of light on a lot of things. And then, of course, you've got the Peter Faulding rubbish, you know, but he still hasn't, it's not been verified. So I don't, if something hasn't been verified as being true, I don't take that into account. So, you know, what do you think? I mean, do you feel differently? I don't mean just Maggie, all of you. How do you feel now about how you felt? You know, if you think about how you felt then, this time last year, have your thoughts changed or not? Roller coaster of emotions, you know, none of which are good. But you've got all these different emotions, and one of them is anger. You feel sorry for them. You feel terrible. You didn't do anything. You couldn't help them. You tried to save them. You couldn't. You feel that you know, you feel guilt, but you do feel anger when someone commits suicide, or I did anyway. So, and that's an anger. It's a selfish anger. It is completely selfish, because they've taken themselves away, and you can't talk to them. You can't do anything about it. Your control is gone. You do feel a slight anger. You do. You know, one day maybe I'll do a video about that. It's quite depressing. That's the only thing. But of course, it's important, because a lot of people do commit suicide. My personal opinion is, if somebody's got their mind really set on it, you can't stop them. You can try and you can do all you can, but if they've got their mind set on it, you can't stop them. And maybe Nicola did have her mind set on it. I just don't believe she did. But anyway, maybe she did. So, sorry, I'm going around in circles a bit at the moment, because it's sort of brought back a few memories then. It's quite sad. But yeah. Anger, that was Paul's first word. So that surprised me. I would have thought it'd be worry or concern, or I don't know what it would have been. Again, I could be being totally, because bear in mind, she's not even been found dead yet, so he doesn't know that she's dead. So it'd be worry, wouldn't it? You know, I think maybe once he knew she was dead, and he knew that she had committed. Yes, or you're not supposed to say it, I don't think, on YouTube. Maybe then, but it just seemed a strange thing for me to say. So, for him to say. So that is my number 6 Easter egg. The fact that the first primary emotion that he was feeling was anger. Yeah, and Easter egg number 7 also came out of that same interview. And I mentioned it when I looked at the interview before. You know, the way that Nicola was described as a pillar of strength and a rock in the Dan Walker interview. Whereas it turns out, it transpires later on that then
the partner of Nicola is telling the police that she's got all these mental health issues and she's got a drink problem and she's menopausal, and so that to me, one of those statements is not true. So whether you believe he's lying or but whether you believe that he's murdered his wife or he hasn't.
Yeah, remember that, because when he did that interview before we knew about her issues or supposed issues, he did describe her as the rock of the family and she was this, that and the other. Then it turned out later on that she did have all these issues. So that was well, call it a red flag or an Easter egg, whatever you think. But that was really, when you look back, that's a bit strange. Why did he start off saying how, strong she was and how everything she was, and then it turned out that actually she wasn't?
One of those things is not true. It is impossible for someone to be a pillar of strength and a rock and the centre of a family and this, that and the other, and be these other things as well. It's not just, I don't think that's possible. So that to me is a big Easter egg, a big sort of, just tells me that something somewhere along the line is he's trying to control the narrative, I think, in that Dan Walker interview, and I think that's why he gets angry later on with everybody with the media, etc. But it's him who said it. It's him who said all these conflicting things. It's him who's burst out laughing on camera when he's talking about his missing wife. It's him who's got a bit testy because they should be. It's him, not anybody else. But he got angry, didn't he, later with the state? That's going to be one of the Easter eggs. The statement that he gave when Nicola's body was unfortunately found. That statement that he gave, it was really quite aggressive, so that's the another Easter egg for me, the conflicting description of Nicola's character and the assassination of Nicola's character, I think, later on. I just want to say something about the menopause or menopause. Some ladies from other countries have been telling me they don't call it the menopause, they call it menopause. Whatever you call it, it's part of life. Women go through it, but there has been a lot of talk about it recently, hasn't there, on the British TV? It's been highlighted, and I know that's a positive thing, but sometimes I think when you highlight these things, it just gives people another stick to beat women with. Honestly, I really do think that, because there's some people, some uneducated people, it's like with, periods and things, like, oh, well, it must be on a monthlies, must be the... I hate that. It's like a woman can't have a legitimate grievance. It's got to be because she's on a period or she's going through the menopause. Shut up. I cannot stand it, so I don't like it's been talked about a lot, which I suppose is a good thing, and there should be help. But it's not a disease. It's not a disease. It's a natural part of life. It should just be talked about in a normal way, not as if it's this great big sort of, it's not cancer, it's something, it's a natural part of life. I'm loving at the moment any of you that are from England or Britain, but England really, because Scottish people won't care about the English football team, but the women, the Lionesses, who are doing so well, they won the Euros and they've just won the Finalissimo. They beat Brazil to be, Brazil were the ones that won the South American Cup and we won the European Cup, and now we beat Brazil and we've got the World Cup coming up and we're doing so well. And I love the way this, because they have to deal with their monthly periods and play football at the same time, but they don't want to be, oh, I can't play today because I've got my period. They've got to surpass that. We've all got to carry on. These are parts of life. They're not illnesses. They're part, and we just have to learn to deal with them. We like it or not, women have periods. So, and I love that they actually it's bringing things up, but in a positive way. So it's not bringing it up and saying, oh yes, you lose a week out of your life every month, which is all doing away, because and it does cause problems. But and they're changing the colour of their shorts to navy blue, because in case there's any issues, like while they're playing, because they want to just carry on playing. They don't want to be saying, oh, you're not playing today because you've got your period, or Anyway, I don't want to go on and on about it, but please, periods, menopause, they're not illnesses. They're natural parts of life. They affect people in bad ways. I know that they can. So there should be help out there so people can go. And people shouldn't feel stigmatized about asking for help. But also, I don't want people turning around to any middle-aged woman and saying, oh, well, she's probably going through the menopause. That's why she's, blaming everything on the menopause. Like people blame everything on age sometimes. I have students come to me to learn Spanish. And they go, oh, I don't think I can learn Spanish now. I'm too old, because they're 50. Or I've had students up to 88 years old who have learned Spanish. It's all here. You can say it's not an illness. There are things you can't do anything about, like cancer and stuff like that, serious illnesses. Menopause is a natural part of life that you can do something about, and you can get through it with support networks, etc. And when I really rankled when I heard that said about Nicola, her private medical history being brought out like that. But we haven't seen, maybe that'll come up in the coroner's report. We haven't seen any medical records to support those things, have we? So anyway, that turned into a bit of a rant. I didn't mean it, but the basic thing in that Easter egg was this contrary description of Nicola as both a rock and a pillar of strength and a menopausal alcoholic wreck. Really. So, okay, so we're going to go on to the next Easter egg.
And are, of course, devastated. Our thoughts are with them at this time, as well as with all her loved ones and the wider community.
Poor Peter, there he is. Peter Lawson. So for those of you that have joined later, I made this video when I still didn't know how to share videos and things. So I was showing it on my mobile, my inimitable style there. But so we've got Pauline. This was after Nicola's body had been identified, and the police read out a family statement. We've got Pauline Stables here and Peter Lawson here. Now, as far as I know, Pauline Stables, isn't she the only one that is even still, visible in the Lancashire police now? Poor Peter, he died of natural causes, but we don't know what natural causes. I mean, talk about how to make things fucking mysterious, even though they're not mysterious. Instead of just saying, he died of a heart attack, or he died of whatever he died of, a stroke or whatever. He was only 50 years old, but people of 50 do die. Instead of actually saying what his cause of death was, bearing in mind that the coroner that dealt with his, there wasn't an inquest. The coroner that dealt with his cause of death is on a programme called Cause of Death on the telly, but he still didn't fucking reveal his cause of death. He just said he died of natural circumstances. So talk about create a bit of mystery. Oh, go ahead, just create a bit of mystery instead of just saying, oh, well, he had a heart attack. For fuck's sake. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. But anyway, poor Peter, he died. All the others have retired or left. There's only Pauline left. I need to look into her one day. How is she still survived? Because she ducked out of it all once she threw a sickie, and poor Rebecca had to go and do the police conference. That was a total, disaster, because now we find out, she didn't want to do it. She shouldn't have done it. It wasn't her who was supposed to do it. All her negativity and resentment about doing that police
press conference came over, didn't it? She came over as being really, really irritated, annoyed, abrasive, all those things. And it should have been Pauline who did that, but she ducked out. She went off sick. Don't blame her. Her career's probably prospered because there's nobody else left. So she's probably had rapid promotion because nobody else left to do anything. And poor Peter died, and the others all resigned. Rebecca resigned. Chief Constable resigned or retired or whatever. There's nobody left at this case. And that'll be as a result of the College of Policing report, I think. They've just like tried to get rid of everybody that had anything to do with it, because it's got nothing but negativity for the Lancashire police. There's nothing positive that has come out of it, really, has there? So there you go, Peter. There's poor Peter, confirming that the body was Nicola's. Then Pauline Stables gives the statement from the family, which is scathing towards the mainstream media. The mainstream media that they courted, that Paul gave interviews to, sent a voice note to, you know, and then he got pissed off because then when Nicola's body was found, they had the temerity to send a message asking how he was. But he'd be, you know, they must have felt that they could do that because they've been in contact with him. You know, and there's the mainstream media who then slagged off all the social media, but it was the mainstream media that got the most stick. Weird. It's a bit of a weird one.
We recognise the huge impact that Nicola's disappearance has had on her family and friends, but also on the people of
I
St.
did
Michael's.
feel sorry for this lady waiting to give this family statement.
During what's been a hugely complex,
she looks terrified. I suspect, you know, she's thinking, oh my God, she knows millions of people are watching her.
But we hope that at least it can begin
But
to
this to me is a big Easter egg. This police statement, well, the family statement that the lady reads out shortly,
His Majesty's Coroner.
To me said a lot. Says a lot.
Read a statement on their behalf. I'll now hand over to Detective Chief Superintendent Pauline Stables to do that.
Nicola's family have asked that we release the following statement on their behalf as follows. Our family liaison officers have had to confirm our worst fears today. We will never be able to comprehend what Nikki had gone through in her last moments, and that will never leave us. We will never forget Nikki. How could we? She was the centre of our world. She was the one who made our lives so special, and nothing will cast a shadow over that. Our girls will get the support they need from the people who love them the most. And it saddens us to think that one day we will have to explain to them that the press and members of the public accused their dad of wrongdoing, misquoted and vilified friends and family. This is absolutely appalling. They have to be held accountable. This cannot happen to another family. We tried last night to take in what we had been told in the day, only to have Sky News and ITV making contact with us directly when we expressly asked for privacy. They again have taken it upon themselves to run stories about us, to sell papers and increase their own profits. It is shameful they have acted in this way. Leave us alone now. Do the press and other media channels and so-called professionals not know when to stop? These are our lives and our children's lives. To those who genuinely helped and supported us privately, we thank you. The community support in St Michael's, friends, neighbours and strangers has been nothing short of comforting and heartwarming. Friends, you know who you are. Thank you. Our hearts truly break for others who have missing loved ones. Keep that hope alive. Finally, Nikki.
Finally.
You are no longer a missing person. You have been found. We can let you rest now. We love you. Always have and always will. We will take it from here.
So, just bizarre in my opinion, but you know, what do I know? But yeah, several things. The fact that Nikki only actually is mentioned, you know, it's finally at the end, Nikki. We will never forget Nikki. Well, nobody would even assume that you would ever forget her, so I don't know why that had to be said. The attacks on the Sky News and ITV and just generally on the media when it was actually, they were loving it. They were thanking the media before, and Emma thanked the media in every interview she did, and Paul volunteered for those interviews that he did. He sent the voice notes, which I mentioned. That's of course another Easter egg, but I've gone through that in another video. There's so much to me in that police statement or that family statement. There's something else that occurred to me, and I could be wrong. Again, please let me know if any different. But I've never seen a picture of Paul, Nicola's partner, with her family, you know, with her mum and dad. You know, I've seen pictures of like the Bulley family, if you like, you know, the mum and dad and the sisters and that, and pictures of Paul with friends and stuff like that. But I don't think I've ever really seen any pictures of all the family together. And then, of course, I haven't seen an interview of Nicola's family with her partner either. No joint statements. Strange, isn't it? He's always with Emma. He's always mentioning Emma. And as somebody said to me in one of the comments after I pointed this out, that he mentions Emma quite a lot and she can't stop mentioning the word Paul. It's mentionitis. Can't help it. When you like someone, you can't help but talk about them because they're in the forefront of your mind all the time. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. You like someone, you talk about them a lot. You mention their name a lot. You know, so that all sort of comes into this. And I had a little look at, and I don't, you know, it did feel a bit like snooping, but I did have a look at Nicola's Facebook page, and there's, you know, not that much on there now, obviously, bless her, and a lot of people have left. I wish they would take it down. I wouldn't like, I hate that, you know, I've lost friends and their Facebooks have still been up and I've had to unfriend them. Not because, you know, I don't remember them anymore, I don't care about their memory, but because it's just weird, you know, when their birthday comes up or anything comes up, you know, Facebook memories, where I don't like it because I find it disrespectful. So I don't know why Nicola's page hasn't been taken down. I think it should be taken down because it's got this combination of her actual posts, like about work, and then people leaving messages saying rest in peace and stuff like that. It just should come down. It should come down, in my opinion. But one thing that I did notice there was one comment that she'd made on her birthday about a cake, and she managed to get a piece of it or whatever, you know, obviously insinuating that the cake was so nice and it got eaten by the rest of the family before. And Emma commented on that and said, do you mean the children or Paul? So she still had to mention Paul then. You know, this was you know, she can't help but mention his name. It's Paul. I hate even putting his name in my mouth because I don't, you know, I feel like something suspicious has gone on one way or another.
He may not have murdered her, but he's not treated her very well. And that comes up in the next Easter egg, the 9th Easter egg, looking at reasons. I think it's proof. So, Easter egg number 9 is a tweet from one of Nikki's friends after she disappeared. In fact, it's on the 16th of February. It will come up. You will be able to actually read it, see the picture in a moment. But I'm going to read it out first of all. It's from a friend of hers called Nadia Fell. 16th of February. She wrote this. Nikki, I know you haven't got your phone, but if by miracle you see this, please know you are so loved. Isn't this exactly the sort of message you would give to a missing person? That know you are loved. Please contact us. If you need a safe place. Now, the key word there is safe. If you need a safe place. Now, to me, you would only say that if there's a reason to think she's not safe. Like I would say to my friend, if they just said, oh, I just need to, I don't know, get away for a while, just a change of scenery. I'd say, oh, I've got a place you could, I've got a room you can use. I wouldn't say I've got a safe room you can use. I'd just say I've got a place you can stay. I've got a bedroom you can use, plenty of room at my house. That word is key. A safe place. Mia's room is sat empty. You can have it. No questions asked. We just need to know you're okay. We all miss you. You know where I am. That is just like such a natural message that you would leave for your missing friend, partner, whatever. It's telling, isn't it? But the most important thing is the safe. I have 2 sisters that many years ago, they had problems with domestic violence, etc. I offered them a safe place to stay. I remember my sister turning up at mine and my boyfriend's flat, or I offered them to come and stay there. My sister, 3 children in, a 2-bedroom flat, and it was only for a night, but it's a safe place when somebody needs to get away because they're in danger. Oh, so I do feel this police investigation, we will find out because they know about the welfare check, whatever. Does anybody know exactly what happened in that welfare check? Was there violence involved? Was Nicola drunk? Were there I hear rumours that there was bruises but I don't know anything definite. So you can't talk about rumours. You can only talk about what you know and what is certain. And there's so much, as I say, that we don't know. We just know the tip of the iceberg, and until anything comes out that's official, we can't really wonder about it. But say something like that is something definite. A safe place to stay. That's something that you can see, that you can realize means something. Now, as far as the welfare check was concerned, I think one of the other videos on my channel about Emma Pattison, and that story of what happened to her was all happened in the middle of all this with Nicola Bulley. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, because it's an important story that should be told, it sort of disappeared into the ether. It was on the news and that, but didn't really command a lot of attention. Now, a lot of you probably don't even remember this case of Emma Pattison, but right in the middle when all this was happening, a woman and her daughter, I think her daughter was 8 or certainly no older than 10, was shot dead by the husband and father at school in Epsom. And this was Emma Pattison and her daughter.
And what I'm trying to say, this all happened in the middle of it. But everything was so consumed with the Nicola Bulley. That was I think that story got sort of lost in the ether, which is horrible because it was a murder-suicide, you know, and it, oh gosh, if you got, I mean, I have done a video on this, but it was a long time ago now. Obviously, I'd like to do another video on it because I think it's so important. Lottie, the little girl was called. It's so important because this was domestic violence. But it was, you know, this guy, this twonk, I can't remember his first name, and I'm glad, to be honest. He was the biggest narcissist, you know, the coercive control that must have gone on in their relationship, because at some point in their relationship, he called the police on her. He called the police on her. Anyway, it turned out that what happened, she got this brilliant job at a private school in Epsom. His job was going, you know, skew with. His pride couldn't stand it. Who knows what the actual reasons were behind why he did it. There is no reason why you murder your wife and your 10-year-old child. You know, no reason that makes sense anyway. And then he turned the shotgun on himself. So that's it, boom. Murder, suicide, gone. You know, and the case did not get enough attention. So I'm just mentioning it now because I'm mentioning it in this video. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm sort of swamped at the moment with the number of cases I could be talking about. It's case after case after case, isn't there? But, you know, Emma and Lottie, they deserve their, what's the word? They deserve to be spoken about, to be brought to people's attention, talked about, remembered, etc. as well. Anyway, but unfortunately, it did happen in the middle of the Nicola Bulley case. So. But very scary, very scary. Seemed like it's professional jealousy. You know, he was jealous because his wife was getting all the attention. She had a really good job. His job was going downhill. And for whatever reason, he was, you know, he thought that it'd be a good idea to murder his wife and his little girl. Attention. I suppose because it wasn't a mystery as well. This is a mystery, and that's why we're all invested in it, because we all want to solve the mystery. We all want justice for Nicola. We feel like something's not right. We can't all be wrong in thinking that, because we don't always think that. You know, things happen, we don't think, oh, it's definitely. Just to say, Alana, no, it was not at the school in front of other children. They had a house attached to the school because she was the headmistress of this, you know, elite school in Epsom, private school, you know, where very rich, famous people went to. They had it like a tied cottage, you know, that was like a grace and favour, living accommodations within the school grounds. And it happened, I think it was a Saturday night, I could be wrong, but it was weekend. They'd had a dinner party. Everything seemed fine, as it does. And after the dinner party, for whatever happened, he had a shotgun there in the house. There was a lot of controversy about why he had a shotgun in a school, because bearing in mind this house was in the grounds of a school, and he had a gun. And he had, you know, some issues, like mental health issues. But I don't know what result. I know there was an inquiry about that. I don't know what the result was about why he had you know, how he was allowed to have the gun, and whether anyone was held to account for the fact he was allowed to have the gun. But anyway, there was a dinner party. Apparently, everything was fine at the dinner party. And then for some reason, later on that evening, he lost his temper. He shot his wife, his daughter, and himself. And that was that. So, yeah, I need to do a bit of a recap on that case, I think, because it sort of got lost amongst all the, you know, it happened just at the time of the Nicola Bulley thing. Him who did it, you know, it's not a normal thing. There's a reason why we all feel like this. So anyway, yeah, going back to poor Emma Pattison.
and her daughter Letty. Now, they were shot by the husband, George, and the father of Letty, who was only 8 years old, shot them and then turned the shotgun on himself right in the middle of all this that was going on with the Nicola Bulley case. But the reason that it sort of, really strikes a chord as well is it was longer than before, like when Nicola went, I think it was only a few weeks, wasn't it, before Nicola went missing, that there was the welfare check, the police check. But there had been the similar thing in the case of Emma, but a couple of years before, where the guy who ended up shooting her and shooting their daughter and shooting himself, had phoned the police accusing Emma of domestic violence, and they were called round on a welfare check or a police check, and they arrested Emma. And then this guy then phoned up the police and said, oh, no, it was an overreaction. And I knew exactly what would happen there. He was the one giving out the domestic violence. He phoned the police to lead them astray, it's manipulation of the police. He's phoned the police to say she's committing, domestic violence against him before she does. This happens so many times. So she's trying to protect him. She's probably tried to protect him many times because she was a woman with a very important career, and she probably wouldn't have wanted to tell people the sort of man she was living with. She was sticking up for him. She was trying to do the best for him. This, again, my opinion. You might think that she was a right bitch and she deserved it, but I'm sorry if you think that. It's just not going to be how it is. He was the one with the mental problems. He was the one, that had a propensity to domestic violence, and he totally gaslit the police. Why are the police so easily gaslit? It's like, because and I do believe if you're a middle-aged white man, and middle class especially, I mean, you probably wouldn't get away with it if you were from a council estate. The McCanns proved that, didn't they? They were, middle-aged. Well, they weren't middle-aged, but professionals, like nicely spoken. The police, unfortunately, they've got this inbuilt expectation of who is telling the truth and who isn't. If it was a black guy from a council estate saying these things, would they believe them? No, they would automatically jump to the defence. I think they're inbred prejudices in the police. And I don't know, as I've said before, I don't know how we get around that, how we change that. We've got to change that, because not everyone with a mental illness is a murderer, first of all. Not everyone who's bipolar is a murderer. Not everyone who's on the menopause is suicidal. Not everyone who who sort of has some depression is capable of murder, or even the big S word. We can't presume. Okay, they're indicators. They're things we have to watch out for, and we have to bear them in mind. But we have to look at things. Sometimes it's not the easiest thing that to think. If let's be honest, if you were in the city centre and you saw two people fighting, and one's like a young lad, maybe a young black lad with a baseball cap on, fighting with another one, or even fighting with a woman over something, you would probably presume that he was the instigator of that violence. Well, it might not be that, might not be. You've got to break it up, and you've got to say, you can't jump to conclusions and just presume because people are from a certain background, or because people got certain issues that this happens a lot. The police will just accept what someone says because they don't know that person. They've not got much time. They've got a million other cases going on. It's just like, oh, well, yeah. depression, bipolar, tendencies to take their own life. It's easier that way. That's my opinion, and I don't blame the police for that, because what I blame is police resources, which we haven't got. Or in Britain, here in Spain, you know, there are police everywhere. I'm telling you, there's a lot. One thing there are a lot of in Spain are police. There's no shortage of police. I think the opposite in Britain. I think Britain is governed by CCTV, policed by CCTV, which is all great after the fact, you know, when you start looking back, but it's not very good for preventing crime, is it? You know, where are the policemen? What would you do if you were walking down the street and you had a problem? Remember the politician that said you should flag down a bus if you don't feel comfortable because of Wayne Couzens, a police officer murdering Sarah Everard. So his solution to that was, if you were, you know, you should ring 999. The policeman stops you and starts questioning you and whatever. You should ring 999 or flag down a bus. Yeah. Okay, so we've got one more Easter egg to look at. Okay, so the 10th Easter egg, the last Easter egg for me, is the release of the CCTV of supposedly Nicola's last morning. And then, we have seen no CCTV of Nicola on the actual morning, have we? So we've seen CCTV of other dog walkers that day, you know, that the police released the photos and said, oh, we were interested in talking to these people. Yeah, this CCTV that was released by Paul's friend to a YouTube channel. You know, I'm not criticizing the YouTube channel. I'm just saying, why would you do that? You know, same as I think about Peter Faulding. You know, why he would release Nicola's images to a YouTube channel. You don't do that. You go through the proper channels. If you don't go through, if you go into a YouTube channel with the CCTV, there's a reason for that. It won't be a good one. You know, now, of course, a lot of people say that the CCTV was faked or altered. I don't know about that because I don't know enough about CCTV itself to, you know, say that. So, but believe me, one thing I do think, if all the YouTubers have had a look at it, the police would definitely have had a look at it. You know, of course they will. Now, is it faked? I've no idea. You know, to me, the main issue is, why was it released to a YouTube channel? You know, what purpose did that serve for Paul Ansell and his friend, or for whatever? What was the reason for that they released it to a YouTube channel rather than going to Sky News, for example, or anywhere? You know, any mainstream media channel. What was the purpose of it? What was it meant to achieve? And maybe it was faked or altered. Well, I don't know, but that's not the main issue for me. The other main issue is, why was the whole CCTV never released? So, you know, that family, they showed a still photo of the family coming out the house and all getting in the car, but we still have not seen them actually, you know, cut, you know, the whole CCTV of them all coming out of the house, whoever getting in the car, you know, Nicola driving away. None of that. We still haven't seen. Where is that CCTV?
We don't know, you know, when she got to the end of the road, did she turn left? Did she turn right? Did Paul get in the car with her? Did he go back in the house? We haven't seen that. And that to me is just, you know, whether that CCTV is genuine or isn't genuine, I have no idea. But I still don't understand whether it's genuine or not. Should not have been released to a YouTuber. Just as Peter Fauldings' images should not have been released to YouTubers. Just as any, you know, you go through the proper channels or just don't do anything. Yeah. And also, why is it just not the consecutive CCTV footage? Why is it just stills or a little bit here? Should be the whole footage. You know, and they found them and spoke to them. Who knows what the interview was about or what the result of it was. But we've not seen any CCTV of Nicola around, you know, walking Willow. Now, there may be CCTV. Maybe the police are keeping it to themselves for whatever reason. You know, we don't, as the public, we don't have the right to know everything that's going on until cases are resolved. But we don't have any. There's no CCTV of Nicola that day, nothing. Except then suddenly, I think it was Emma who first released the CCTV of Nicola packing up the car and going off. There was a very short clip of CCTV, wasn't there? And then there's been a lot of speculation from various YouTubers as to whether it was actually her, if the CCTV was doctored in some way. Was she wearing a ring? That was another thing, and Nicola didn't wear a ring. So was it Emma? Because it was Emma who wore a ring, and was Emma hiding the ring in other, I don't know. I haven't gone into that because I don't understand about CCTV and things like that. So I presume the police will be looking at that. Then when this sort of, conjecture was at its height, suddenly a friend of Nicola's partner released more CCTV not to the police, but to a true crime channel, another true crime channel, a true crime channel that personally I don't like, but there you go. A lot of people do like it, so good luck to her. And she then sort of latched onto this CCTV coverage that was supposed to prove, I don't know, that Paul was there that morning, because some people said, was he there? I don't know. I don't even really know what the purpose of it was. I don't understand the purpose of it. Just seemed to me that if that was Nicola, she looked quite angry with, that's how it seemed to me. She didn't seem very happy with him. It was like, if it was all sort of as it looked to me, she looked like not very happy. She was sort of slammed the door, got in. Well, we didn't see her driving off. So that's the other thing. We didn't see her driving off. We didn't see whether Paul got into the car or he went back. He would say he went back into the house, but he was dressed to go out. He was dressed to go out. He wasn't just dressed to, pop out to the car. I mean, you'd still keep your pajamas on, wouldn't you? I don't know. I'd just put my pajamas on and just stick. I don't know. But to me, he was dressed to go out somewhere. So we don't know whether she actually drove off, whether he drove off, whether he went back in the house. We don't know. So what was the purpose of that, and why send it to a true? I mean, is it really? Are you sitting and watching all these true crime internet people just like speculating like me? I mean, everybody's, why are you? And why did you send it to that particular channel? And what's the... there's a reason for everything. People do things for a reason. I don't understand that reason. So for me, that's a big Easter egg. I don't know what it implies.
it's almost like methinks he doth protest too much, because I'm telling you now, if my partner had gone off, well, it has happened to me, I wouldn't be, well, nobody would be accusing me of killing them anyway, but because I didn't, but that's the difference, I suppose. But I think even if you just maintain this dignified silence, you can't bring them back, you can't change anything. People's lives are turned upside down. I know that. I've been through that. I've been through a coroner's inquest where I had to sit and listen to things. I've been, actually, the story was actually made the local papers, so I do understand. And I'm telling you now, there's nothing would have made me go onto a true crime channel or any channel or even do a TV interview. Not at that time, maybe later. Like now, I probably would. Of course I would, because now I can sit and talk about if I can help anybody else who's going through the same thing. I would like to do that. But at that time, there is no way. Everything was just too raw. There's just no way I would want to get involved. And I wouldn't care what anyone was saying about me, and I didn't, because I knew what had happened. I wasn't interested, it was a different time. I'll give it, maybe in these times now, people would be on YouTube sort of talking about me and saying what a terrible person I was. But, I've got my own guilt to live with for the way I dealt with that situation. I know I didn't deal with it perfectly correctly, but I dealt with it the only way that I knew at the time. So that's my last Easter egg. If you want to know about that story, I keep saying, I'm going to do a video on it, but I'm sort of finding it difficult at the moment because I get, obviously, to talk about it, get quite emotional. But you can read about it. I have my book. Many of you have bought the book. Thank you for that. Oh, I can't get it. Anyway, it's called Confessions of a... don't think I've got one to show you, but it's in the description box. It's called Confessions of a Spanish Teacher by Vicky with an I, Riley. You can get it on any Amazon site. If you're not sure where to get, you can get in touch with me and I'll let you know how to do it if you're interested in reading about my story. Okay, so that's the last Easter egg. I hope you enjoy your Easter Sunday. I hope we get some news soon. Something's going to happen sooner or later. I'm 100% convinced. Something.
And nothing did. Nothing came out. We waited, patiently for the inquest. We hoped something would come out at the inquest. Nothing came out. Nothing different, nothing new. It was all a load of rubbish. Then we waited patiently for the College of Policing review, convinced that something would come out. Nothing did. Though maybe that's not quite true, because I do think the College of Policing, at least there were some things that the police themselves acknowledged that they'd done wrong. And then, of course, we had the Peter Faulding revelations, so I think for anyone who's been interested in the Nicola Bulley case, and now we're looking at a year and a bit that it's gone on for, and it's not likely to go any further, is it? I mean, come on, we've got to be honest. It's not likely to go any further unless the police are working on things behind the scenes. But we have no reason to think that. Family are happy with the inquest verdict. What can possibly happen? What can happen? Nothing's going to happen with what Peter Faulding's not going to come up with any confirmation. And even if he did, to be honest, if he came up with confirmation, what difference does it make to the actual Nicola Bulley case? Absolutely none whatsoever. It doesn't contribute anything. It's just, in my personal opinion, it's just totally disrespectful to Nicola and the family. And, I know some people can't see that, and I always appreciate people's point of view, but to me, it's the most disrespectful thing of all to sort of say all this. Anyway, never mind. Let's not go into that. But it is Easter Sunday on Sunday. So that's one thing that's similar to what I was talking about there. So remember, we're going to have an Easter party on Sunday. Not quite sure what time yet. But so remember, it's not too late to send me in your photos of your Easter eggs or anything to do with Easter. Send me into the email at vickymariechats@gmail.com, Vicky with an I, and we will be celebrating it on Sunday. I'm sure I'll see you before that anyway, because it's only Thursday. Now, as always, I'm just going to have a little look to see if there's any news about Samantha Murphy. But you know what? We're sort of giving up on that, and we shouldn't. We can't give up on it. But it does feel a bit like that. You know, at the moment, seems to be very difficult for the police to find her. You know, obviously the guy's been charged with murder, but where is she? Where is Samantha? You know, her family, especially her kids, you know, they've got to bring her back, have a funeral for her, say goodbye to their mum. This twat, sorry, I know I'm on members, so I feel like I can swear a little bit. This twat, you know, not only whatever he's done to Samantha, but there is holding her, you know, holding back from saying where she is and bringing her back to her family. I hate him with a vengeance, you know, and he's not going to be redeemed, not in this life, not in the next. Even now, I think even if he said where she was tomorrow, he's left it so long. And he's just hoping for more decomposition. It's disgusting what he's doing. It's more disgusting than the act itself. You know, he's obviously murdered Samantha. But I think it's even worse what he's done since, trying to cover everything up. Anyway. So, remember to live it. Now, come on, you could repeat this after me, couldn't you, all you lot? Remember to live and love wisely, carefully. Don't go near any water. I'm staying away from water as much as possible. But anyway, thank you for being here with me tonight. And it's, you know, thank you. There's some of you that have been with me now for a year, because that video that I just showed, that was the video that I did at Easter last year. Some of you were with me then, and you're still with me now. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much that means to me. It means a lot to me. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God always go with you. Bye. Oh, sorry. Thank you for being members. Bye. Oh.